Vin, thank you so much for speaking with me today and sharing your experience with the rest of the folks that are looking at intentional product manager, considering intentional product manager. So I appreciate that.
Yeah, sure. My pleasure.
So when I'm gonna take you on a journey. Let's first just begin with a little bit about you. Give us a 30-second career snapshot of what you did prior to joining intentional product manager.
Sure. So I started my first company, a digital agency. We focused on, web development, web design when I was 24. And so that was really my first kind of professional kind of introduction to just really working in technology and running a company. From there,
Hmm.
I started a second company 7 years later, as more focused on web application, mobile application,
Hmm.
and I had a successful exit. I sold that company to a larger digital agency, and then I took a little bit of time off to finish my education. I finished my undergrad, and I then went on to get my master's. And during that time, I did some consulting just to keep my skills, fresh, and I was still, informed around the different technology and platforms out there. And then most recently, in December of 2019, I joined a software engineering company to help with their growth initiatives, and I've been working with them since. But when I started that position, I really started to discover the career path of product management, and then I met you, Shobit, through the Kellogg product strategy course, and then just following you on LinkedIn. I saw when you struck out on your own, and I saw this program, and that's when I reached out to you, and here I am.
Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, there's so many students who come in from Kellogg Product Strategy. It's a good program. It's give them the theoretical foundations of product strategy, and then they round it off here. So love that program too. So just so we have a sense, you mentioned you were working in helping that company grow. Like, tell me about how what an average week looked like for you, especially as you were now starting to think about your job search and go find that new role in product management.
Are you talking about the current company that I'm with?
Yeah, exactly.
Sure. Yeah. So really, for the company I'm with now, I run their sales and marketing, and just really their overall growth initiatives. And I work closely with engineering, and on also, we work with product managers as well. So I get to see kind of to experience the interaction with the teams, but not in a way that I'm working very closely with them, and I
Hmm.
get to see them really have conversations around building solutions and solving problems. But for me, running sales and marketing, I ultimately am responsible for selling and bringing on new clients. So I wasn't as involved in that part of the business as I would have liked to be.
Yeah.
And so, a lot of the work that I do now is really about, strategy around how to grow the business, and really partnerships, and really about, like I said, selling solutions versus, kind of solving problems and building solutions. And so for me, moving into product was something that I wanted to do, when I started that company. My role fairly quickly in terms of just transitioning to a more product focused role. And so I'm not sure if that answered your question.
Yeah, no, I get a sense of what's been going on, and you truly had a unique background. Like, I loved your background because there was entrepreneurship, there was sales and marketing, there was you were running agency, there was product development, and all these different things that had happened. And so, from where I stood, product management was just like, yeah, you can absolutely do all those things because of all the experiences you had.
Right. Yeah, and I just want to add, yeah, you're exactly right, because I feel like product is kind of this almost natural direction that my whole career has led me to, because of all the experiences I've had in all these different disciplines, which
Hmm.
are required, in terms of when you're actually working in product, to really understand those different areas, so that I've had such a, I think, a in-depth kind of experience in each area. So I have that kind of, I guess, mindset. So that's going to help me really move into this direct product role.
So let me ask though, when before you joined the program, was that the mindset you had, that it's sort of natural transition in? Were you doubting yourself? Like, tell me what was going on through your mind right now.
Yeah, that's a great question. So my goal was to finish my master's and then really start the job search in earnest. Yeah. And, I thought it would be easy. I thought, hey, I have all this experience. Who wouldn't want to hire me? I've built a bunch of digital products. I've run teams. I've worked with sales and marketing. And, I had this false kind of understanding that it would just be a natural transition to product. And, I started to realize that wasn't the case. You really had to be able to tell your story about how, your kind of accumulated experiences really would help, whatever company it is that you wanted to move into. And I realized quickly, okay, I better, kind of rethink how I kind of approach my job search. And I guess I didn't know what I didn't know, and so that was kind of the mindset I had, and also really approaching it from it. Well, who can I really lean on to help me fill in those blind spots and gaps, and really help me be a much more a stronger candidate, because of my experiences.
Absolutely, and to be honest, when just reflecting on my prior experiences, so I did sales engineering, did my MBA, went to McKinsey, management consultant. I came in with the same approach. I'm like, who wouldn't want me as a product manager? What the hell are you talking about? It wasn't as easy as I thought it would be, because there was a barrier of, if you've never done product management, can you really do it? Even though I had all these different experiences. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So what was, like, for you, what was the biggest challenge or the biggest struggle as you were going through your job search prior to joining the program?
Sure. I think the biggest challenge was really being able to frame my stories and my experiences in a way that related to, product work, right? Mm-hmm. So thinking about the stories in a way that was concise, that was compelling, but also relatable to the work. Because I think when I was trying to do this work on my own, my stories were just so long-winded, and I was talking about things that didn't apply directly to the job. I mean, I think it just seemed like I was rambling, in terms of my stories, and not really having a common thread, and really building upon that to really, kind of build up my overall kind of experiences that I've and skill sets that I've accumulated throughout my career, and relating that to product work. And so that was the challenge. That was definitely the most difficult part. And then the second part was really interviewing, because I started my company when I was in my mid-20s, I never really interviewed that much. So I interviewed people, but I never was interviewed myself. So you're under a microscope, and, you're being questioned in terms of your capabilities. And when you're the person running a company, you feel like, you have all the, you don't necessarily need to think about those questions and have that perspective. So, really having, I think, help with kind of the interviewing process and really how to approach that. It was something I also was looking for.
Got it. Yeah, it's you're exactly right. That's storytelling, and then confidently interviewing and making sure you're hitting on the right things. That is so critical.
Yes, definitely.
So let's go back. So, at that point, you had considered the program. Like, what was the hesitations that you had about joining the program?
I think for me, Shobit, so just to kind of give you a little bit of context, like in terms of kind of working up to where I am now. Like, so when I ran my first company, I never felt I needed to lean on anyone. I always felt like I could do it myself, and I struggled. Yeah. And then my second company started to recognize the value of mentorship and really, kind of leaning on people who've been there before. And so I started to open up to that, but it was a slow process. And so when, I decided that I was going to do a career pivot, as I like to call it, I knew that in order for me to be successful, in a shorter amount of time, I needed to look at resources that would allow me to get there. And so for me, it was really, kind of acknowledging that getting that help was critical to really being able to shorten the time that I would be searching. And I think the other thing was just, I'll be honest, I think, the cost is something that it's an investment, right? And I remember our conversation. I spoke to my wife. I'm sure like many other individuals here probably, have partners or significant others they need to, speak to. But, I just weighed the benefit of the cost versus how much longer would it take for me to, find a job. And I just felt like the opportunity cost was just, it made sense for me to invest in this. And, and I'm glad I did, it's one of the, the most, I think valuable investments I've made recently, so.
Yeah. Better than Bitcoin.
I have Litecoin. I should have bought Bitcoin last year when it was like, I don't know, down in a couple thousand. I know.
Yeah.
We can all kick ourselves.
See, everyone's kicking themselves. For those who didn't buy, they're like, why didn't I buy? For those that bought, they're like, why didn't I buy more? It's all.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, exactly.
So putting Bitcoin aside though, tell me, like what you mentioned, you sort of did the calculation. Like, is there anything else that pushed you over the edge to join us?
I mean, really, it was just you and Sam's background and your experiences. Really, like I think that was huge in terms of, and just kind of when we talked, I really appreciated your thought process and just the overall kind of I think way that you had this program laid out, and and to be honest with you, when the first week when I started watching the videos, it continued to validate my decisions. You know how sometimes when you make a purchase, you continue to question, oh, is this a good idea? I don't know. But, it was the opposite. It was like, I remember seeing a recording of Sam and how he was just really passionate about the work. And that to me was said a lot, because it showed me that he was invested in the people in the program. And I, each, and then talking to the peers, it just continued to validate my decision to sign up. So, yeah, so that's always a positive sign for me, when that happens.
That's that.
Yeah.
And so I'm gonna so now you have your stories, you're interviewing. Tell us a bit about your interview process and what are the things you went through to land the job that you did.
Sure. So the opportunity, the job that I landed, when I saw it seemed to fit the, kind of all the work, kind of the work that I've done in the past, but more product focused. And so, I prepared for that through just a lot of one-on-ones with different individuals in the program. I did a lot of practice on my own. I tried to attend as many group interviews as possible. But, the hiring process was, I spoke to the recruiter, had a conversation with her. I had a really good conversation with her. And then I spoke to the hiring manager. And then from there, I had a kind of a round of interviews with different people from the team. I think there was 5 different people, that I had conversations with. And then lastly, I had a presentation in front to the executive team and the senior leadership, which basically they wanted to kind of see my thought process through how I would prioritize features, trade-offs, and ultimately, how would I communicate that to leadership in a way that they would understand? And that was kind of the last step in the hiring process. And, I know I nailed that. And you helped a lot, Shobit, in terms of just helping bridge kind of the understanding of the objectives to then the solution, like really also bringing in the customers as well. So and that was huge. I mean, that presentation, I you know, nailed it. I mean, so yeah, so that was the hiring process. I would like to say that, you know, I didn't apply to many positions. You know, I started this program, you know, beginning of February, and you know, the offer was made, I think 2 months after I started the interviewing process. And, you know, I don't know if that's, you know, this is a rare situation, but I think I found a job that allowed me to transition a lot of my skill sets into this new role, but yet focus on product. So that's kind of my journey.
Yeah, you bring up a very, very interesting point, which is what people also mention. I think two, actually. One is that these presentations are becoming so standard. They're happening so often. And when you can get somebody looking at this, especially somebody who's done these so many times, just makes a huge difference. And your final presentation was way more polished than I would ever have made it. My presentations, they were like, oh my God, this is like, you know, professional quality level work. So kudos to you on that, 100%. And then the other thing is that there is a variation in how long people take to find a role. Sometimes you land that perfect thing sooner. Sometimes it takes longer. But no matter what, you know, like there's a conviction that you'll find it.
Right.
Now it's a month later, it's 2 months later. So totally. So tell us about your new role. Like, you know, it's like compared to like initially when you were setting expectations and thinking about it, where did you end up? Anything you could share would be really useful.
Yeah. So I think my expectations were pretty low in terms of, because not because I didn't think that I could land a more senior role, but I think it's just, again, I wanted to just be mindful of kind of the time period that it would take me, and as well as the role that I would land. But I started the process when I spoke to you, Shobit, you know, just considering a product manager position, and you convinced me, you know, based on just my experiences, to aim for a senior product manager. And so that was kind of my target area. But this particular role is for a director of you know, website product management for, you know, for a publicly traded company. So they are, you know, they're, you know, fairly decent size. And so it'll be an individual contributor role. It's a new role that they created because there was a huge need for this. And so, yeah, it's to me, I guess from where I started to where I ended up is a pretty large gap, you know, and so I'm very happy with that. I'm obviously happy with, you know, the overall package that they offered me as well. More than happy. You know, I think it moves me further in my journey than I had expected in terms of where I want to be, say, in 5 to 7 years. So that's also the you know, kind of an added benefit.
Yeah. And I'm going to just call out 2 points for everyone. We're not going to get into specific numbers here, but, you know, when started and where we ended up, just read between the lines. It was a big jump from initial expectations. But then the other thing is, I think, you know, when this is really going to set you up for success as you set towards your goals for the 5-7 years, you know, sometimes there is a sense that, oh, I got to struggle, I got to go through this and that. And very often you can, like, even as you're searching and positioning yourself, you can shortcut some of the struggle and move up to a high level. And of course, then you have a little bit of apprehension. You might feel like, oh, can I do the job? Of course you can.
Yeah. No, I'm definitely getting a little bit of that, you know, you know, and I'm sure it'll start to creep up a little bit more as I get close to my start date, but I'm trying to plan ahead and really, you know, kind of think about 30, 60, 90-day plans. So help with that.
So one last question for you. Let's say, you know, what would be your message for people who are watching this video, who are considering enrolling in the Intentional Product Manager program? What would you tell them?
Yeah, so I would say, you know, the first thing to do is look at your, you know, kind of your journey to where you are now in your present moment. Are you just starting off, or have you been searching on your own for a while? And if you have, you know, what are some of the challenges that you've faced? You know, how has that impacted you kind of, I think, in terms of your confidence emotionally, because I think it can be stressful when you're doing a job search. So, for me, I can only speak from my own experiences that uh, I wanted to get the best support I could by individuals who were in the industry, who had that experience to guide me through that. Because even though I had a lot of those kind of experiences to help me move into a direct product role, it was really about being able to pull stories from my experience and then communicate it in a way that was relatable to kind of the roles that I was applying for. And it's an investment, but you have to ask yourself if the investment is worth say the support that you get, not just from Sam and Shobit, but also from people who are in the program who are very involved. I mean, I was very active on Slack channels, on LinkedIn, on just really taking advantage of the program and the resources that were presented to me. And, as a result, I started in, early February. I landed a job end of March. So I was in the program for 2 months. So again, I know it varies, but hands down, the program itself was just very valuable to me because it allowed me to tell my story in a way that connected with the position I was applying for, and two, just gave me a lot of confidence in my ability to communicate what I bring to the table. So that's what I would say to people who are considering this program, it's a resource that will just empower you and allow you to just move, I think, into the product, whatever product role it is that you want to look for in a more, I think, strategic way, and organized way.
Yeah. Thank you so much for sharing your experience. I'm sure, just like you did, people who are considering the program, they want to hear from people who've done it, not from me. I can talk about it all day long, but at some point they get tired of me. So really appreciate you sharing the input, and you've been an awesome client to work with, and look forward to continuing that in the future.
Yeah, definitely. Thanks, Shobit.